welcome those that are just joining. Just place your microphones on mute for me. We'll be getting started very shortly. Just so you're all aware, today's session will be recorded. Right, okay, it's 12:03. I think the most majority of people are through. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Jennifer Quinn, Growth Manager at Urgent Money.
Cool, thanks very much, Sean. Well, hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's SME Club event. For those of you who I've not met before, I'm Jen Quinn, Growth Manager at Virgin Money Manchester, and we're delighted to be sponsors of today's event. We've got a really great offer to share with you today, which is our new Brighter Money Current Account Bundle, which gives 3 brilliant rewards just for joining us. So that's a £50 donation to any Virgin Money registered charity of your choice, a case of Virgin wine for you, and 2% on your current account balances up to £1,000. We'll share that link with you after today's event, but please do get in touch if you'd like to hear any more about that. We'd love to hear how you found today's event. Please do tag us in your social media posts. That's at Virgin Money on all social platforms. EnterprisingYou, develop and enhance your sales strategy is today's discussion topic. So for now, I'll hand over to Michael Eyre from the Growth Company and look forward to catching up with you at our next event.
Thanks, Jane, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. My name is Michael Eyre, and I am the Engagement Officer for EnterprisingYou. A big thank you to Pro Manchester and the SME Club for making this afternoon's webinar happen, and of course to everyone who has took the time out to attend our event. We have some fantastic guest speakers lined up, and this afternoon's topic will touch on free business support available from EnterprisingYou, with the main body of the webinar focusing on how to enhance your sales strategy, relevant for anyone regardless of what sector you operate in. So a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. We ask that everyone keep themselves on mute unless speaking to avoid feedback, but please feel free to leave your camera on or off, whatever you feel comfortable with. However, this webinar is being recorded, so just bear that in mind. So moving along to today's guest speakers from left to right, I will be navigating us through the next hour and monitoring the chat, and I'll also pose any of your questions to our speakers throughout the webinar. Andy will then talk about EnterprisingYou, a really unique offer to the self-employed people in Greater Manchester. He'll also include the eligibility and how you can get involved. We'll then hear from Lee Ali, who will be covering today's main topic, and I'd recommend that you grab a pen and paper for this one. We will have time for your questions at the end of the webinar, and we will finish around 1 p.m. Please feel free to use the chat function to ask any questions throughout the webinar, and if you can, include the name of the person who your question is for. Okay, so with all that said and done, let's dive right in. Andy Mather is one of the senior team at EnterprisingYou, and Andy is going to give an overview of EnterprisingYou and how you can get involved.
Thanks, Michael. Can I just check? Can you see that screen, Michael?
Yeah, we can, Andy.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, well, welcome everybody, and thanks for attending this webinar. I'm just going to give a quick overview of what EnterprisingYou is and what benefit it can be to people who join the program. So my name's Andy Mather, and I'm one of the team leads on the program. So we were funded by Department for Education and Commission through GMCA. It's an exciting new programme that's never been sort of done before. The target audience is SMEs in Greater Manchester, who are residents of Greater Manchester. It's only Greater Manchester at the moment because it's a pilot programme, and we're targeting those people who have traditionally fallen out of business support or have never tried accessing it. So we launched in February last year, right before lockdown, and we've managed to run the entire programme from our dining room tables, which has been amazing. The pivot from face-to-face to virtual has been absolutely brilliant by the entire team. So we're jointly delivering by the Growth Company and People Plus, and again, at this present time, until the contract ends, it's only available to GM residents. Okay, so who's eligible for programme? A bit like other support programmes, we're not sector specific. So other support programmes might exclude construction. We don't. Any sector is in spec. So you need to have 4 months trading history, a little bit of traction behind you, a little bit of turnover. You've got to be 18 plus, and you've got to be a GM resident. And all participants have got to have some element of self-employed or working in the gig economy. And you can't earn above 27,000. So you can see the types of clients we're hoping to attract onto programme. We are working with vulnerable priority groups, so we're targeting people with health issues, women in business, 50 plus the BAME, carers and universal credit claimants. So what can you expect if you sign up to EnterprisingYou? You'll get linked in with a business coach for one-to-one support. That business coach will register you on programme, and then they'll put in place a personal plan which will outline what support needs you have over the 26 weeks that you'll be on programme. So you get 24/7 access to an integrated digital platform that will be yours. You will have your own log on and your own password to get on that, and you can access that whenever you want. And that houses health and wellbeing advice, that houses careers advice, and it also houses the exclusive sort of training and development packages, which I'll touch on later on this slide. We've also got peer-to-peer mentoring from people who've got experience of running a business that we can tap you into, and that very much works hand in hand with your business coach and your one-to-one from your business coach. And we refer through to mentoring if you've got specialist needs. So for example, if you want to franchise your business, we can put you in contact with somebody who's been there and done that, and it's sort of a hand-holding exercise for you. We've got a personal finance specialist. We're not regulated by the Financial Authority, so it's not financial advice, but it's a specialist who can talk to you about budgeting and managing your money better, you know, and looking at those grants that are not always in the public domain, specialist grants that you may be able to access. When we get back to some sort of normality, which we're looking at doing at the moment, we're going to have access to over 50 co-working sites throughout Greater Manchester. And that is very much for people who have worked at a dining room table, feel a bit isolated, want to get out and build those networks and do that networking session. And that will all be funded under the programme. We've got access to health and wellbeing support, and that's either through one-to-one with a wellbeing specialist or through their individual portal, through Health Assured, and also through workshops that we put on. And that covers absolutely everything to do with health and wellbeing, from diet to how to sleep better to anxiety and addressing mental health issues. We've got access, we're working with National Careers Service for people who think self-employment's not for me anymore, just want to go and get a regular job. We've got that careers information and advice. So that could be CV writing, interview techniques, job search facilities. We've got advice on employment law and recruitment. If you are looking to take somebody on, you know, perhaps you're looking at the Kickstarter scheme for apprentices. So we can support with that as well. But one of the biggest things we have got is funded training and personal development. So for example, if you identify in your personal plan with your coach that, yeah, I need social media training, I need to know how to build a website, I need to learn how to do a tax return, we can fund that for you, and we can find that training package for you. And similarly as well, we're always looking for people who want to deliver training and personal development. So we're looking at deliverers, and it's a tendering process through our procurement. There are information sessions that we run on how to become a provider. And again, we're getting some great results and some great feedback from our providers. And at the end, we've got exclusive client aftercare package. So people are just not cut off after they've finished on programme. You know, they can keep dipping back in and you know, talk to people who are currently on programme or who have finished. They can access the webinars that we're doing, you know, so there is that sort of follow-up and aftercare. So that is the EnterprisingYou programme. What I will say is, if you are a GM resident, I know we may have people on the webinar from outside of GM today, but if you are a GM resident and you are interested in the programme, I will drop my details in the chat box. And if you want to either email me or give me a call, we can discuss it a bit further. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to answer. But if not, I will hand back over to Michael, and Lee can start his presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. A really comprehensive overview as usual. We will pop some information in the chat should you wish to find out more. Andy, just while I've got you on the call, we we do support hundreds of businesses on Enterprising You in Greater Manchester. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to access similar support who may not live in Greater Manchester?
There's business support. Speak to your local authorities, speak to your strategic growth teams within your local authorities, see what support is out there from growth hubs, like we've got the Business Growth Hub. There's loads of initiatives in Lancashire for business support, and similarly, if we've got people from the south, there's loads of initiatives at London way for business support. But certainly your local authority will tap you into any business support that's available to you. And again, if you're a small business and you're looking at the latest government grants, that will all come from your local authority as well.
Great, thanks, Andy. Apologies if you can hear my fire alarm test going on in the background there. Next up, we've got Lee Ali. Lee has many years experience of supporting businesses maximise their sales potential, is the right word. I hope I'm not offending you there, Lee, by emphasising the word many. Lee has very kindly offered to speak about a range of sales strategies that you can implement in your own business, regardless of what sector you operate in. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Andy. Pleasure to be here. I'm just going to share my screen and get the presentation up. It'd be great if you can give me a thumbs up if you can actually see the presentation. Yeah?
Yeah, we can see that, Lee.
Okay, great stuff. And then I'm going to do click slide from beginning. There we are. Good stuff. It's all there, yeah?
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And this is the second one about the pleasure of doing for the Business Growth Hub with the Enterprising You program. A little bit more about yourself. I can see some of you attended one of our webinars last week with E5. A little bit more about myself. I'm the founder and MD of a company called Expo Stars Interactive, which I founded about 13 years ago, helping businesses that go to trade show exhibitions to help them optimize their trade show engagement and generate more business from those trade shows. Obviously, with the COVID pandemic coming along last year, we had to adapt our service offering, and I had the opportunity to start another business called E5 Interactive, which some of you attended last week, and that is about helping businesses use assessment-based marketing within their sales strategy. I've also been a Business Growth Hub business mentor for the past 5 or 6 years, and I joined the Enterprising You program last year as a mentor for them as well. So my sales experience goes back to 1990 when I took my first sales position. I left college having done a degree, a BTEC course in accountancy, and that pretty much bored me quite quickly. So I took a job aged 20 years old, and my first ever job was actually selling timeshare. Now you might think, oh my God, he's a timeshare shark. But back in the day, it was, when I started, it was very reputable, and we were actually helping people enjoy 5-star luxury holidays. But the key thing I learned there was not actually coming from a sales background, but actually coming from having left college, done a 2-year apprenticeship, and then I was thrown into a very high pressure sales environment. And it opened my eyes up. And from there, from age of 20, I've absolutely loved the world of selling, and have had that as a career for the past 32 years. So selling, it's a very emotional subject. Okay, some people hate it, some people love it. Okay, and it's really a question of our mindsets. According to research done by a chap called Daniel H. Pink, who wrote a book called To Sell is Human, he did a survey and he asked people how much time they actually spent persuading, influencing, convincing other people during their day-to-day jobs. And the research was quite interesting in that results came back that it was 40% of the time, all of us, regardless what role we are in our day-to-day work, we spend more than 40% of our time actually trying to convince and motivate other people to do things for us. Okay, so and this again can actually go back to your childhood. Okay, you start, you know, when you're 3 or 4, when you become more conscious, you start that process of trying to convince your parents to give you something. So and what happens usually over the past over your lifetime, you start getting influenced about various behaviors, and then obviously you have sales experiences, some are negative and some are positive, and that influences how you actually think about selling in a way. So let's look at some of the sales challenges that we have today as business owners. So we have, you know, the sales environment from 30 years ago has completely changed. We now have the world of the internet, and how we actually talk to people, that's completely changed. With the pandemic lockdown, people have tighter budgets, businesses are not functional as per normal. We have a lack of face-to-face time. A lot of people prefer to sit down with people face-to-face in order to build that relationship, and we don't have that anymore. Buyers are better informed, okay, before what you could do is knock on a door and get an appointment, sit down with people and walk away with a sale. And that is no longer, it's still possible, but buyers are much more savvy. They actually want to research everything before they actually make the decision to actually purchase from you. Then obviously there's a lot of media negativity which influences people's buying decisions in terms of what's going to happen, when the pandemic is going to finish and all of that. And then also a big thing with the onset of the internet and social media is the cancel and walk culture, where, you know, one mistake, one word out of line, and that affects your whole business. So there's a lot of sales challenges for business owners that, you know, we have to look at. But that is, this outlook is, of course, if your glass is half empty, then you might look at this. But if your glass is half full, then you might think that there's, you know, we've never had so many sales opportunities out there to grow our business. In, you know, our living room, we've got access to the whole world. Okay, so we can use the social media, we've got the websites, we've got the webinars, and you can actually reach anywhere to anyone to get them interested in your products and services. So there is still a lot of opportunities out there. And what we found is that business owners, especially in the Enterprising You program, people have started coming up with very, very good niches. And that's where the business is at. So what I'll be doing today is looking at 3 elements. So we'll be looking at what you need to do in the pre-sales, okay, to help you prepare. We're going to look at the actual sales process itself and how you can actually improve how you actually engage with your prospects. And we're going to look at how you can actually measure your performance and how to improve your sales skills. So those are the 3 elements. And the first thing I would like to start off with is looking at the psychology. Selling is all about psychology. 80% of your sales success is down to how you actually prepare to actually go and approach your prospect base. Okay, so it's actually your sales are actually won and lost even before you actually talk to your customers. So the first exercise I'd like you to do is in the chat box, if you could, just tell me, when you think of the word selling or sales, what does it actually mean to you? So anything, just one word, okay, if you could actually describe selling or sales, what it actually means to you, yeah, what would that word be? So Michael, can you help me with this? Because I can't actually, for some reason, see the chat box.
Hi, Michael. It's Deirdre Hughes. I can't see the chat box either, so I'm wondering if anyone else can see it.
Okay, that's very strange.
I can see it, guys.
Okay, so right, I can't see anything. Create value, solving problems, needed. Okay, I can see it now. That's absolutely fine. So, anyone else? Problem solving also. Okay. All right. So let's have a look. Go back to the presentation. Sorry, I'm just having a problem with the windows here. Okay. So selling, again, I'm going to refer to some research done by Daniel Pink in his book, To Sell is Human. What he did, he asked in the survey that he actually did, people for definitions about selling and what actually sales actually meant to them. And the research that came back was absolutely incredible, in that what we associate with sales is these words, and obviously the bigger the word, okay, the more people said it. Okay, so out of 25 adjectives that were describing sales and selling, only 5 actually came back positive, and 20 were actually negative in terms of selling. So is it any wonder then, when we actually go and do a sales call, or when we think about selling, we think of selling as very, very negative in terms of our mindset. So what we need to do is look at actually redefining what selling actually means to us. So for me, selling, we don't, in our business, Expo Stars Interactive, we've never had a salesperson. We've had account managers, and what we do is we have a system where it doesn't actually feel like selling at all. What we're doing is offering solutions to customers, and we, instead of a sales process, we call it a client acquisition process, because that positive mindset when it comes to approaching customers is very, very important. And if you've had negative sales experiences in the past, so you may have had somebody knock on the door who's tried to sell you, a vacuum cleaner, double glazing, and they've been very pushy, and you've actually had a negative experience, or you've actually bought something, from a salesperson and it's turned out negative. You're always going to think about that experience, and you're going to associate selling as a negative experience to you. So, face that, and look at, what selling actually means to you. And if you need to change the definition, then change it to something like client acquisition, business development, or, solving problems and helping your customers. So this is the first thing that you need to get absolutely 100% as a business owner, is look at, what selling means to you, and do you feel comfortable, okay, actually selling something to someone, okay? Or you can redefine it as convincing, or, motivating, or influencing someone to actually purchase your products and services. So let's have a look at, beyond the sales. So let's look at beyond your products and services. What do your customers actually really want, okay? And these are the 5 things for me over the past 30 years that customers actually really want, okay? Selling is obviously emotional, and there's only 2 reasons any of your customers will actually buy something from you, okay? And those 2 emotions are they either want to avoid pain or they want to achieve something, okay? So you need to recognize, the language that you have or the approaches that you have. You need to look at, what pain are you helping your customers to avoid, or what are you actually trying to help them actually achieve, okay? And that's the thing that you need to lead with, okay? Customers are also looking for insight and expertise from you, okay? You know your products inside out, okay? And customers actually want to do business with people who actually know what they're actually doing. And if you're unsure, or you don't give that impression that you are the expert, then obviously people will feel drawn away from you, okay? Number 3 is absolutely important, trust, okay? So people want to know what they're actually buying. Okay, they can actually trust you with their money. And if you don't actually have that, you don't build that trust, okay, you're not actually going to get that sale. They want value for money, okay? So whatever they buy, they want to make sure that what they've actually paid for actually meets their needs, okay? And actually, they can actually sense the value in that product or service. And most of all, you know, they're looking for peace of mind, okay? At the end of the sale, okay, one of the things that we always have is what we call buyer's remorse. And people sometimes think, immediately after they've signed on the dotted line, have I made the right decision? Okay, so they're looking for that security and comfort, okay, from you to make sure that they've actually made the right choice and they've actually picked the right product or service. So whatever, again, what your product or service is, this is what you need to look at. You need to look at the hidden needs of your customers to really understand what they're looking for. Because if you're selling furniture, okay, it's not really the piece that they're actually buying. What they're buying is their living room looking absolutely great, okay? If you're selling drills, if you're selling drill bits, for example, they're not looking actually to buy the drill bit. What they're looking for are the perfect holes in the wall and perfectly aligned pictures. So this is the thing that you need to think about is really, you know, what is the emotion that your customers will actually experience once they actually buy your product or service. So what we've had a look at the customers. Now let's have a look at, you know, what makes a great salesperson. And again, I've seen, you know, I've worked with hundreds of salespeople, business development people, business people over the past 30 years. And what I've seen is there's a lot of people who, you know, come, they do some great sales and then they actually burn out. And I always ask myself, you know, what really are the qualities of a really good quality salesperson, someone who I actually want to do business with. And these are the, you know, the top 9 qualities that I've come across over the past 30 years. And very often people always say that you're either a born salesman or you're not, okay? That is totally a myth, okay? And then the other myth is that you've got to have the gift of the gab. You've got to, you know, be outgoing, and you've got to obviously be the life of the party and life of the room, and you've got a light personality. There is no evidence of that anywhere in the world, okay? So again, referencing back to Daniel Pink and his book, To Sell is Human, he did some research and he looked at, you know, what kind of personalities do successful people have. They interviewed something over 300 salespeople from Salesforce, and they looked at, they actually analyzed all the results of those people, and they looked at their personalities. And it wasn't the introverts that was the most successful, and it wasn't the extroverts, okay? Their success level was about the same, but the personality type that really stood out was the ambiverts. So these are people in the middle, okay? They're not extroverts and they're not introverts. They're just the best of both worlds, okay? And these people outperformed. So they were looking at something like, I think it was 24% for introverts, 28% for extroverts, and the rest was all ambivert personalities. So, so the myth of, you know, you need to be an extrovert is exactly that, a complete myth. You need to be an adaptive communicator, okay? You need to be like a chameleon. So you'll actually have different types of people that you will actually talk to on a day-to-day. So you need to adapt to their communication styles. You need to understand, okay, how they communicate and adapt your own personal style to them. Empathy is very, very important, okay? You've really got to look at, you know, listening to your customers' needs and actually understand deep down what they're really looking for. Emotional intelligence is important, passion for the brand and service. One of the most important things for me that I've always looked at is being a fountain of knowledge in your product and service, okay? I had a job with Virgin Media, as it's known now, but back in the 90s, it was called 9X, and then it was called Cable and Wireless. And what we used to do is sell cable television and telephone. And one of the things that I was very passionate about is actually understanding what was on cable television in terms of the channels, looking at everything from the learning channel and actually learning all of the programs, because I knew if I was in front of a family and I asked them what kind of programs they actually liked, what I wanted to do is actually say to them, well, you can actually watch those kind of programs on this XYZ channel. And it's amazing how many times a particular piece of knowledge on a TV program, maybe it was on the History Channel or maybe it was on the Learning Channel, actually made that big difference. And again, if you know your industry inside out, you know your products inside out, and as I said earlier, they're looking for that expertise and knowledge. And if customers actually feel that, then obviously you're going to be very, very successful, because they're going to know that you actually understand exactly what you're talking about. The next is asking incisive questions and absolutely listening. Okay, so again, it's understanding, you know, what your customers' needs are and what they're actually looking for, and you can ask open, incisive questions, meaningful things meaningful information that you're actually going to get from them, and actually listening deep down and actually taking that on board and then reflecting back to them. So it's not, you know, again, it's not about being, you know, the Spanish Inquisition and asking, you know, lots and lots of questions. It's a case of actually asking the right questions, taking that information on board, and then getting people to confirm with you that what you've actually understood is absolutely 100% right. Okay. A growth mindset is absolutely vital if you want to be a great salesperson. Okay, so you need to be learning all the time about your products, about your industry. Okay, and you can't stand still because the world changes. I mean, even in the world of exhibitions, we've had a massive impact of the pandemic, and how people have moved on to hybrid events and virtual events. So for me, what I've had to do is learn all the technology behind it, so I can actually compare face-to-face marketing and virtual events as well. And when I talk to clients, okay, we can compare both, okay, and see what is best for the client. And then obviously, again, for me, you know, absolutely one of the top things that you can actually have as a business person and as a salesperson is the honesty, authenticity, and integrity. I talked earlier about, you know, all these negative experiences, and there are bad eggs in this world. Okay, people who like to rip people off, or who are not ethical in the way that they actually do business, and that impacts all of us who are, you know, genuine, hardworking salespeople. And I think if you can actually be honest and authentic, and people actually sense the integrity from you, that makes a world of difference, again, when it comes down to your success. And time management is important as well. Turning up on time, 5 minutes before, you know, the meeting. Time management to actually help you to actually investigate and research your clients before you actually talk to them. That's absolutely vital. And time management as in delivering what you've actually promised in a time-effective manner. So these are the things that you need to consider, okay, when you're looking to improve your sales personality and your character as a salesperson. Knowing your end game. As business owners, okay, if you're self-employed, okay, you need to understand why you're in business in this first place. There's a great book called Know Your Why from Simon Sinek, and the question that you've got to ask is, you know, why did you start in business? Okay, what is the passion behind it? Okay, so if you don't understand, you know, why you're in business, and if you're just in business to get the pounds in, then yeah, you're going to filter, your energy is actually going to filter out. Okay, so what you need is a very strong motivation. You need to look at, you know, what does success look like at the end? Why are you doing what you're doing, and what do you actually want to get out of it? Okay, what is the drive behind your business? And once you actually have that drive, okay, your energy is going to be different. And if you have that passion in you, your communication with the client is going to be much, much more successful. Knowing your numbers, okay, actually understanding, okay, the activity that you actually need to do to get the one sale that you need. Sales, for me, has always been a numbers game, okay? And one of the things that we challenge businesses on when we look at our exhibition market is to understand that for them, for an exhibitor to generate one sales lead, our goal is to actually help them understand how many people they actually need to say hello to. So on here, I've got an exercise for you that you can actually do when you have a minute. And you start at the top. You look at, what kind of revenue do you actually need for the next 30 days, for the next quarter, for the next year. Okay, so whatever you feel comfortable with. So if your goal is to earn 40,000, 50,000 pounds in the year, then obviously the next step that you need to do is look at, what is the average customer value in that year for each customer that you bring on board. So it may be that every customer that you do business with, you'll get £1,000. So what that means is that you actually need to get, if your target is £50,000, you'll actually need to get 50 customers. Now, to get 50 customers, you need to look at how many presentations you actually need to do to get that number of customers. So if your conversion, a typical good rate is 1 in 5 presentations leads to a sale, whether you're in professional service-based business or any other product that you sell, 1 in 5 is always seen as a good benchmark to actually have. So, and then so what that means then is you need to look at 250 presentations to get the 50 customers, because that is the 1 in 5 conversion rate. To get 250 presentations, you need to get a number of qualified sales leads. Okay, so and again, a good example is 1 in 4. 4 leads leads to 1 presentation. So if you take 250 presentations, times that by 4, you're going to need 1,000 qualified sales leads to get the £50,000 that you have as a goal at the end of the year. So what that means then is your marketing and your prospecting activity has got to be geared towards getting those 1,000 leads. So you need to look at, what social media activity that you need to do, what kind of journey you need to put on the website, what kind of activity you need to do on LinkedIn or the cold calls that you're going to make. You need to define that activity so that you can actually get those qualified leads, because if you don't have those leads in the first place, you're not actually going to get the revenue that you've actually asked for, or that you've achieved a target to get. So I call this system LAPS, LAPS. Okay, so you can use the analogy of a runner. Okay, if they want to be really good, really fast, and they want to achieve, they've got to do the laps. Okay, so I go running 3 days a week, and I put the miles in, and I know that if I want to achieve that healthy body, then I need to put the laps in. This is exactly the same in sales. You've got to get those leads, you've got to get the appointments, the presentation, sales, and then once you have these numbers, what you can do then is look at your own skill set and looking at to refine the number of leads or the presentations that you actually need to get the number of customers. And by training yourself, by practicing all of this, your presentation skills, your listening skills, questioning, and all of that, all of these things, you can actually improve those ratios, and by that you can actually get to where you want to be a lot faster as well. So that's knowing your numbers. Next step is knowing your target audience, and these are some of the things that you need to look at. Okay, who is your ideal client? Okay, what do they look like? How much money do they have? Where do they live? Okay, you may have heard of personas that marketers actually build, and you need to do a similar exercise in understanding, okay, who is your ideal client? Okay, who would you love to work with in the long term? Okay, not just do a short-term transaction, but what kind of customers would make good friends, you'd have a good relationship, and they can actually do business with you over and over again. Where do they actually hang out? And this is, again, a lot of business owners and salespeople actually get wrong, okay? So you need to ask, okay, if I want to find these type of ideal clients, okay, where do they actually hang out? What kind of groups do they hang out on LinkedIn? What kind of networks do they actually have? Are they part of the Pro Manchester networking group? Are they part of the Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce? Okay, whatever it is, wherever they are, that's where you need to be, okay? And your voice needs to be heard in that network. And then one of the brilliant things that you can actually have in your sales strategy is look at partnerships, okay? Ask yourself, who else has your ideal clients? With my business, Expo Stars, what we did was we don't actually have any salespeople, like I said before. What we've done is created a business model where we actually go and work with partners. So our ideal clients are people who obviously are going to an exhibit, and the people who have those clients are the stand builders, they have the organizers. So what we've done over the past 12 years is build relationships with stand builders, with organizers, with marketing agencies, okay? And what we do is we bolt on our service to theirs, so we're actually adding more value, and we're actually helping them look good in front of their clients as well. So this is a strategy that works every single time because you're actually adding more value and you're creating more partnerships, and you're getting your expertise out there with partners. And it's a two-way relationship then, because you can also refer business to your partners, and then also they'll actually bring business. It's a win-win situation. Then you need to look at, what are their challenges or their aspirations. We talked about the need to avoid pain and people's aspiration, what they actually want to achieve. Then you obviously look at their communication style, how are they introverts, are they extroverts, okay? And obviously then adapt to your communication style accordingly. What would be their buying motivators? Is it going to be cost-based, okay? Is it going to be prestige-based? What is the main driver? What is the main motivator as to what is going to lead them to actually buy from you? And, you need to ask that question. How can you actually help them achieve their goals or help them avoid that pain? So once you've actually done this exercise, okay, it really gives you a really good approach in terms of understanding and then creating your sales messages. And then another big thing for me is looking at, sales channels. One of the big mistakes that business owners and salespeople make is that they try to do too much, okay? And one of the things that you can do is look at, what channels actually work for you. You can try them all, okay? Maybe once every quarter you try social selling. You can go to a trade show. You can go to networking events. You can do outbound sales, but whichever one actually works for you, just actually enhance that, okay, and just put more effort and money into that process. Because, and again, for me, I don't do outbound sales at all, okay? So we create relationships. I do social selling on LinkedIn. I do webinars like this for our client base, and I attend a lot of networking events. Outside of that, I hate, knocking on doors, doing the cold selling and all of that. So I've actually found over the past 12 years what works for me, and that's where I actually invest my money in. So I put a lot of money into my website. I put a lot of money into educating our prospects on social media. We've got ebooks, we've got reports, and we put that on our social media, and it works because it's a filtering process, and we get the ideal kind of clients that we're actually looking for as well. So select your sales channels wisely, test them, see what works, and then obviously get a combination across all of them. The other thing that you could actually do is integrate three or four of those channels together. So it may be that you could actually have social selling on LinkedIn. So you approach people there, then you invite them to a webinar. Okay, then you get them to do an exercise with you, and then obviously you follow up with a one-to-one, and then you do a presentation. So there's many ways and means of getting those leads, but what you've got to do is actually find what actually works well for you. So we just talked about the sales channels, and once you actually know your sales channels, what you need to do is look at the prospect to customer journey. Okay, so what that means is aligning your marketing and your sales functions together. So looking at what is the ideal sales lead that you're looking for, and then looking at the marketing and getting your messages right so that your marketing resonates with your ideal clients. You need to define each step along the way. So what does that journey look like? So from that first initial approach, what is the next step after that? It may be like a one-to-one, then a presentation, then a proposal, then a follow-up, okay, then send some educational material to them, and then obviously get the sale. Then obviously you've got the post-sale. So what you've got to do as a business owner is look at every step of your journey, okay, from saying hello at a networking event to actually standing on the dotted line and actually delivering the service. So make sure that you've actually defined those steps and actually understand exactly what you need to do at each step. And the key thing I look at is what do I want people to know at every stage? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do after that step? Okay, so if you can actually define that in such a way that it makes it easier for your customers or your prospects to follow that journey, then your sales process will be a lot smoother. And one of the big things is make it interactive. Okay, make sure that what you're giving to people, you're getting their feedback all the time. And the trouble with social media is that we're pushing out a lot of information and hoping that some of it actually sticks. But why not get people to actually give you feedback on what you've actually posted, and maybe create some challenges and get them to come back to you, so that you can actually go back to them and make it an interactive process. So just to give you a really good methodology to look at, and also give you an insight into your customer's mindset when they make decisions, okay, as to whether to buy something or not. This is the process that they go through. So if you look at the top, people start off with the status quo, the situation as it is. Then they ask themselves, why change now? Why with a particular supplier? Why invest the money that you've actually quoted? Why do it now? Okay, why pay for it and not do it ourselves, or look for an alternative solution? And why sign on the dotted line? And if you look at the bottom, this is what you need to do as a business owner, as a salesperson, to get them to move along to the next step. So why change? You need to disrupt. Okay, people are actually in a trance. Okay, they obviously might be bombarded with so many messages online, on TV, and emails and so on. So what you want to do is look at disrupting that pattern and actually giving them reasons why they actually need to change. Then obviously, why you? Okay, you need to differentiate your value from your competitors. Why invest? You've got to justify what you're actually quoting in terms of justifying the value that you actually offer as a business. Why now? Obviously, you need to put some priority. You need to make it. What's the word I'm looking for? You need to make it. You need to put a sense of urgency into that as well, so that they're not umming and ahhing for the next 3 to 4 months. And then obviously you've got to look at, if they do pay you, how they're going to be protected in terms of getting the value for the money, and why sign. And what you've got to do there is look at guiding them along, okay, and actually telling them what actually happens next once they've actually signed on the dotted line, so that they get that peace of mind and security and comfort, knowing that they've actually made the right choice. So, and then obviously once you've actually got them on board as a client, why should they stay? Why should they involve with you? Then obviously you need to renew your service offering, and you need to help your relationship grow with your client, and actually help them grow and actually add value. Keep adding that value as you go along with that relationship. So just have a look at, that's all your the pre-sales homework that you actually need to do to make sure that your sales strategy is actually in line, that you're looking for the right customers, and that you're talking to the right customers. So then these are some of the activities that you can do to generate some leads. So I'm going to cover social selling very quickly. A lot of you are actually doing this online already. So social selling is things like an outreach program on LinkedIn, for example. The key things here, you've got to make time for the activity, maybe 1 hour every morning, actually reaching out to people, looking at their profiles and sending them a message to create a one-to-one, or getting them, arousing their curiosity to want to talk to you. Obviously ask open and challenging questions in terms of what their status quo is at the moment. You can create obviously assessments that you can get them to do. We talked about this last week in terms of creating challenge-based assessments where you can actually give them a scorecard as to where they are. You can share case studies. Excuse me, my throat is going. And then, of course, you need to have a clear call to action in terms of what's going to happen next. So if it's a calendar invite, if it's find a time for a one-to-one meeting, or get them to do an exercise, you need to make that absolutely clear, as we discussed before. And another key thing is focus on 1 or 2 social channels that suit your business sector. Okay, so Facebook, Instagram are great for the consumer market. LinkedIn and Twitter are great for the B2B market. So choose your channels. You don't need to spread across all of the channels, because you'll be wasting a lot of time and energy where the messaging doesn't really hit the ideal clients that you're looking for. Virtual networking during lockdown has been all the rage. And again, some really good tips. Perfect your pitch and your profile. Okay. So look at the different kind of pitches. Some of the things that you can do is look at what 1 or 2 words describe your business. Okay, you can look at like an elevator pitch, so less than 140 characters, like a tweet. Okay, because with virtual networking you only have a limited amount of time to get your message across. So obviously you need to build rapport and empathy and ask the right questions. And one of the best tips that I've received in the past is that, and again something that I use in the world of exhibiting, is that it's actually not about you. Okay, you don't actually need to lead with your products and services. What you need to do is look at asking questions, actually understanding your prospects' worldview before you actually even talk about yourself. So that's the ideal way. It's actually putting your prospects and customers first, so that they feel valued and they feel that they're being actually listened to. And we talked about listening before. Okay, you need to listen for those clues. You need to look for those buzzwords. You need to look out for the emotional words that they're actually giving you, so that you can actually get ideas about how you might want to, what kind of products, or how you might want to actually approach them. Obviously, you need to be present and mindful. It's very easy for us while we're actually on a networking event in front of our laptop to be doing other stuffs and not actually listening to people. Please be present, actually listen to what they're actually saying, and be mindful of their time as well. And then always ask for a follow-up one-to-one meeting. A lot of these virtual networking events, obviously you only get 2 minutes, 5 minutes to actually get introduced to people. So if you do find that there is some common ground between you both, ask for a one-to-one meeting and have a more expanded conversation where you can actually raise some of those issues that you've talked about in that 2-minute period. And always qualify as best as you actually can. So look at their needs, their budgets, authority, or whether they have the influence to make a decision, what kind of timescales they're looking at, what kind of network that they actually have. Sometimes it's not about, they might not be a useful prospect for you, but they actually might have a really good network around them where they can actually introduce business to you. So I always say a good networking meeting is always about building that relationship and not necessarily selling your product or service to that person, because you never know who is in their network and who they might be able to refer to you. So it's always relationship first, and then obviously pitching your products or services once you've had time to do a complete one-to-one. Excuse me. Presenting. This can sometimes go horribly wrong, and it's all about your preparation. Okay, so once you've done a needs analysis, you've had a discovery call with them, you've actually found out all of their pain points or their aspirations, then obviously you go and present. Okay, and one of the key areas where it all can go wrong is not having all the decision makers present when you actually do the presentation. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is ask the question, are all decision makers or people who are involved in the decision making process going to be present? Because when you do the presentation, if it's not the decision maker, they're actually going to have to go and actually pitch that for you to the actual decision maker. And sometimes, if you think about the word Chinese whispers, it can actually go wrong. You say one thing, okay, it gets misinterpreted, it goes to the top level, and they've actually misunderstood, and that can actually completely break the whole sales channel. So always lead with their challenges and aspirations. So introduce, at the last meeting, you told us that these were your challenges, these were actually your aspirations, okay, and this is how we can actually help you. And then obviously you highlight the added value and the outcomes that you will actually deliver as a result of using your services. And what you're trying to do there is actually set them up in terms of the price, okay? Because what you are going to have to do is justify the actual quotation that you actually give them. And you can actually demonstrate what the return on investment and their objectives is going to be by using, obviously putting the investment, spending the investment with you. So that is very, very important. I mean, when you do a presentation, the reason why they fail is that a customer will actually say no, because they don't actually see the value in what you've actually presented, okay, versus the cost that you're actually quoting. So if you actually demonstrate that, you're meeting all their challenges or aspirations, you're giving them all the added value and the outcomes that they're looking for, and then it doesn't become a decision-based cost, because it's an outcome-driven decision. Another tip is always check as you're going along in the presentation if anything is likely to stop them doing business with you. Okay, so and always be asking that question. Ask for affirmations in terms of is everything okay? Do you have any questions? Okay, is any aspect of this going to stop you doing business with us? So and then when it comes to asking for the order, a lot of people cop out, okay, thinking that they don't need to ask, people will automatically sign. In some instances, it's great to go with the flow. And if you get a person answering, asking all the questions, it means that they are interested. It means that they are obviously interested in the solution, but they want to just check some of the material that you've actually presented, and then always ask, and then clarify the decision process. Okay, actually explain in detail what's going to happen after the presentation, after the sign on the dotted line. Once you've done a great presentation, okay, you need to look at all of the objections. And a lot of people always say to me, how do I lose a sale? And when people ask difficult questions or they have objections like, cost, for example, or they can't do business yet because there's X, Y, Z in the proposal. How do you actually overcome that? Now, I talked about earlier actually knowing your target audience, okay, and you're the expert in the market, so you will actually know exactly how your customers think, okay, and you will actually know what they're looking for. And what you need to do is look at in your presentation actually preempting any objections before they actually come. Now, in my business with Expo Stars, we know that cost is an issue, okay. We know that we have competition and the quality of our people is always an issue. So what we do is in our presentations, in our quotations, we try to give as much information as possible to justify our price, okay? We explain why we're more expensive. We look at the value that we bring to them, and we look at the outcomes that they will actually get as a result. And if there is a cost issue, we actually identify that at the very beginning of the sales conversation, and we ask them, is it what is important to you? Is it the cost, or is it finding the right solution? And we deal with that at the very beginning of the conversation. And another thing is, don't be afraid of saying no. A lot of customers will actually come to you and say, well, can you do this? Or we've had a cheaper quote from elsewhere. And you need to stand your ground. And, don't be afraid of saying no. And when in our business, when we've done a quote with Expo Stars, for example, and people have said, oh, there's another cheaper agency offering the same services, we always say, well, that's fine. We respect that you have a choice. But unfortunately, we've explained the value that we offer. And it's better that you go with the other agency. And very often, what happens, they've actually used that agency, and the following year, at the next exhibition, they've actually come back to us and said, well, these are the things, exactly what you said, and they've actually gone wrong. So, like I said before, clearly outline the next steps in the process, always thank them for the business, and follow up and deliver to the expectations that you've actually set in your presentation. Never overpromise and underdeliver, okay? Just tell them like it is. I mentioned before that you need to be authentic and genuine, okay? You need to be honest with people and show them exactly what's actually going to happen once they've actually signed on the dotted line. Then we look at the last aspect, which is measurement, okay? At every process that you go through, you need to record how you're actually doing. So we talked about the lap system. You can use a CRM system like HubSpot, okay, that you can actually use to record data with every sales lead that you actually have. Then you look at your pipeline value, all the presentations that you've actually done, and then obviously the costs that you've actually had, which will give you your return on investment. Then you've got your performance versus the activity plan. So we talked about, your target was 1,000 leads. So you can actually see, right, what activities are actually working, whether you've got your own target to achieve those 1,000 leads or not. And then obviously, once you've got that data in front of you, you can actually evaluate what skill sets need to change, what needs to improve, whether it's your marketing, whether it's your presentations, whether it's your lead generation. So that needs to be at the forefront of your measurement tools. And then last of all, okay, the thing about selling, what I enjoy is the actual doing of the deal. Okay, so I got hooked pretty early on. I was talking about my timeshare experience, and the great thing that we had was that we used to have people come to us to view a presentation, and within 40 minutes to 1 hour, from not knowing them to actually creating rapport, actually understanding their needs, to them becoming a great friend, and then signing on the dotted line. It was a fantastic experience. It was kind of like a buzz. So you always need to celebrate those wins to keep that momentum going and feel good about yourself. Because if you're offering a really worthwhile service and you've actually helped someone improve or gain something, then yeah, what more can you actually ask as a business person? So always celebrate those wins and reward yourself and the team for meeting your objectives. With Expo Stars, one of the great things that we did, we looked at a team environment. Okay, it doesn't matter who brought the sale in. Every quarter, what we did, we have a performance award. So if we hit our target as a team, because everybody contributed as account managers, we used to reward everyone. So it's important that once you've actually won or you've hit your targets, that you actually, reward yourself, to validate what you are doing and to feel good about helping people as well, because that will give you more energy, give you more enthusiasm, and it will actually help you justify and give you, a bigger drive in terms of continuing and a bigger push as well. Because if you enjoy that process and you've actually enjoyed the fruits of your labor, then the more positive energy that you actually create. So just here are some resources for you to have a look at if you really want to improve your sales. You want to understand, some of the mindset of customers and look at your sales strategy and look at your own personal skills. These are some of the tools that I use to help us, understand our target and obviously define our strategy as well. I would definitely recommend you read To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. It's an absolutely fantastic book. Makes it at a much more human level and looks at the emotions of your buyers and yourself as well. Thank you very much. Of course, I've crammed a lot in. I hope that you've taken some of the notes. Okay. It's when we do this, it's normally a sales strategy is normally over 2 days when we work with our customers. So to cram all that in the 40-45 minutes is always a challenge, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you need to connect with me and actually have a look at your sales strategies in detail, you can come through me via Business Growth Hub and EnterprisingYou, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's always happy to help. And yeah, that's me. Thank you very much for your attention, and any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. It's Andy. Michael's having real problems with his internet, so he's dropped off. But yeah, thanks again, Lee. Again, I've listened to 2 of these presentations now, and there's always something new to take from them. So thanks once again. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Lee or anybody else who spoke today? You can either pop them in the chat box or ask them direct. No?
No.
Okay. That's great. Right, so then, without further ado, we'll close the webinar now. Thanks again, Lee, for doing that. Thanks again to Pro Manchester and to Virgin Money for hosting us today. And I hope you've all really enjoyed it and taken something from it. Sean, do you want to say anything before closing?
No, just goes without saying a huge thank you to Michael, to yourself, Andy, and of course to Lee. And thank you for all of you for attending. So thanks, everyone. I'll send out the post event shortly. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with any of these guys, I'll include some links to where you can get in touch.
Brilliant. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, thanks very much. And we'll close it off there. Have a great afternoon, a great weekend, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.